Hey everybody, welcome back to All Fiction is Fantasy. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on All Fiction is Fantasy, we are going to be taking a quick look at two series from Gardner F. Fox. One is Kothar, Barbarian, Swordsman, and the other is Kyrik, Warlock, Warrior. I just started reading the Kyrik series, so I'm going to read through all of that. And after that, I will follow up by reading through all of the Kothar series. So let's take a look at the Kyrik series first. So we have the first book here is Kyrik, Warlock, Warrior with a cover by Ken Barr. And this says, Kyrik the Mighty. Kyrik, the mighty-muscled warlock swordsman, is a hero for this or any other age. From mankind's darkest and most unremembered past, he comes striding. The ever-unvanquished sword, Bluefang, glittering in his granite-like hand. Through the mists of man's prehistory, he comes a-questing for those who would enslave or destroy him for their evil gain. The greatest champion of all the known world, from the endless green sea to the red desert, Kyrik dominated his world and his era. Kyrik, the first book of Kyrik here, was originally published in 1975. So when I was first putting together my reading list and my collecting list for my Sword and Sorcery Saga project, I asked some people far more knowledgeable about the genre, about Gardner F. Fox. And more often than not, I heard that Gardner F. Fox was kind of a hack, and I really shouldn't bother. And I found that really strange the more I kind of looked into Fox and looked into Kyrik and Kothar. Gardner F. Fox was one of the most influential people in all of the world of comic books. He wrote, according to Wikipedia, he wrote something like 1,500 different stories for DC, making him something like, I think, the second most prolific DC writer. He was active throughout the Golden Age, all throughout and beyond the Silver Age. He did work with Superman, Batman, The Flash, Justice League, Justice Society, and he also wrote a number of novels. And I don't think he's a hack at all. You might put him in some weird kind of category as maybe non-humorous parody, lampooning, possibly paying homage to pastiche work, possibly, but not hack work. And I think that's apparent when you look at the two introductions. One introduction for Kyrik and one introduction for Barbarian Swordsman, Kothar. But let's take a quick look here at the introduction to Kyrik. And here he starts talking about the Earth's and mankind's prehistoric and historic past, and placing Kyrik within that past, within different civilizations that have come and gone over the many thousands of years of humankind's rise. And he places Kyrik within these different kind of ancient societies and these ancient peoples, a lot like how Lynn Carter, L. Sprague de Camp, and of course Robert E. Howard did with Conan, is taking a look at Kyrik as being kind of a man out of time in a way, and a man who, if he had lived throughout all of human history, what he might have accomplished as a great warrior, as somebody maybe like Genghis Khan or something like that. And in the introduction for Kothar, I think this is one of the most clever introductions I have read in a sword and sorcery book. And this says that the introduction is by Donald McIvers, PhD. And if we take a look at the introduction, Mr. McIvers, PhD, says, more than a century ago, Albert Kremnitz, a German philosopher no longer widely read, wrote that, quote, the Industrial Revolution, the age of materialism, will almost certainly drive people back to mysticism rather than away from it. In the beginning, of course, popular taste will seem to move in quite the opposite direction towards the mundane and the banal. toward the frenetic pursuit of possessions, toward a contempt for all that is lyrical in man. The first stage will see no attempt to justify this taste for the mystic and the unexplained. Although this stage will be prolonged for many years, and how many years no one can even hazard a guess, it will gradually give way to another stage in which the course of mankind will find itself troubled by what it has cast aside. Kremnitz goes on to describe this new age of heroes. He states that since the modern hero will have been dwarfed by his environment, the popular demand for larger-than-life heroes will have to be satisfied by the recreation of mythological supermen, or, as he predicted with amazing insight, the invention of heroes so magnificent, so fantastically endowed with superpowers that they exist only in the fantasy projections of man. Such a superhero is Kothar, Barbarian Swordsman. What's really interesting about this introduction, written by Mr. Donald McIvers, PhD, is that Donald McIvers, PhD, does not exist. As a matter of fact, Albert Kremnitz, the German philosopher no longer widely read, does not exist. Fox made up that whole introduction to big up Kothar's place in the pantheon of fantasy fiction. He was lampooning the kinds of pseudo-scholarly, pseudo-academic introductions that Lynn Carter and L. Sprague de Camp would write for their collections. And I think that is proof that Gardner F. Fox was anything but a hack. A hack would not put that kind of work into introducing a character that they were just writing to, just writing as a pot boiler, just writing to make some money. But let's return back to Kyrik. So we have Kyrik, Warlock Warrior. That was with cover by Ken Barr. We have Kyrik and the Lost Queen with another cover by Ken Barr. I love these Ken Barr covers. They are absolutely amazing. Sorcerer's Spell. Kyrik, the mighty warrior, met a lovely woman who appeared to be his gypsy lover, Myrnis. But then she disappeared, and Kyrik met another woman who looked just like her. Was this the real Myrnis or the Lost Queen? The two embarked on a search for the answers, which led them to a strange land where the lovely Myrnis was ruling under a wizard's spell. Which was the real Myrnis? Sword and sorcery at its thrilling best. And this book was published in 1976. And then we have Kyrik Fights the Demon World with another cover by Ken Barr. And this says, when Kyrik, Warlock Warrior, finds a dying man with a bloody parchment map, he is drawn into a whirlwind of evil in which demon lords contend for Altera. With Myrnis, his gypsy sweetheart, and the aid of their thief pack, he brings 5 ancient magical gifts to the land of Sierleone, where he meets betrayal by the very demon lord he has been forced to serve. And Kyrik Fights the Demon World was originally published in 1975. And then finally, the last of the Kyrik books, or at least the last one I have, is Kyrik and the Wizard's Sword. This strangely does not have a cover by Ken Barr. I don't know who did this cover, but I can pretty sure that's not Ken Barr. The style is very different, and the depiction of Kyrik is obviously supposed to be more like Conan and less like Kyrik. If anyone has any clue as to who did this cover art, please let me know. But Kyrik and the Wizard's Sword was published in 1976, and this says The Demon World. Kyrik, the great and glorious warrior, had battled the fiercest foes imaginable, drawing on his amazing and incredible warlock powers. His tremendous gifts are put to the ultimate test as he is forced to a life and death battle with the wizard and the Wizard's Sword. So those are the 4 main Kyrik books. I don't think there are any more. If there are, I need to track those down. And then let's return back to Kothar here. Kothar, Barbarian Swordsman. There are 5 Kothar books, and what's interesting about these is all but one also have the same cover artist. But in this case, it is Jeffrey Catherine Jones, the great Jeffrey Catherine Jones. Kothar, Barbarian Swordsman, the mightiest fantasy hero of the enchanted, terrifying world before or beyond recorded time. And Kothar here was originally published in 1969 From the world beyond or past time, Kothar comes. From out of the deepest, most violent recesses of mankind's collective memory, Kothar, the gigantic barbarian, strides, the enchanted sword, frostfire glittering in his mighty hand. Lusty, hot-blooded, masterful, unafraid of things real or unreal, Kothar dominates the misty, bloody world before recorded time. Yet, through Kothar's world exists in another age, perhaps another dimension. It springs vividly to life, mapped, charted, chronicled. Kothar's fantastic world suddenly becomes real. The sorcerers, dragons, witches, evil potions, unspeakable monsters. And Kothar, an epic hero for any age, overshadows everything. All right, the next up here we have Kothar of the Magic Sword. The mighty barbarian hacked his way through 1,000 adventures. Sword and sorcery adventure at its finest. Another Jeffrey Catherine Jones cover there. This was published in 1969 as well. The Enchanted Sword. Kothar stole the helix from the fat emperor of Avalonia. It was the only way he could hope to recover his magic sword Frostfire from the belly of the great eagle of Nervala. But the original theft of the helix was to embroil Kothar in even more uncanny adventures. An ice being, an eerie creature even in Kothar's world, used the helix for his own dark purpose, trying to forget the beautiful Layla. Driven away by the witch Red Lori, Kothar agreed to deliver another lovely girl from the sinister followers of the god Palthum. Even with the magic sword flashing in his powerful hands, it was the bloodiest, weirdest, and most blood-chilling adventure of his life. And here we have Kothar and the Wizard Slayer with another cover by Jeffrey Catherine Jones. Let's see here. The Death of Magic. Someone or something was systematically killing all the world's magicians. Kothar, the Blood Barbarian, had to link up with his enemy, the she-devil temptress Red Lori, to find and vanquish the Slayer. Beautiful Lori was his partner, but Kothar's best friend was still his magic sword, Frostfire. I love that. That's a great synopsis there, and an absolutely beautiful cover. And then here we have Kothar and the Conjurer's Curse, and with another cover by Jeffrey Catherine Jones. Sword and sorcery adventure, magic and romance as the mighty barbarian rescues a young gypsy girl and battles the terrible curse of the sorcerers of Falkar. The magic amulet. Kothar rescued the beautiful gypsy girl, Stefania, help her to the wizard Elvirum, and carried her off on a journey filled with danger and mystery. His mission was to deliver a magic amulet to Herikon, the regent of Falkar. But Herikon was held prisoner in his own dungeon. When Kothar found him, he learned the secret of the true ruler of Falkar. And then finally, we have here Kothar and the Demon Queen, and I do not believe this is a Jeffrey Catherine Jones cover. It looks nothing like Jones's style. They had a more painterly style, and this looks like a more illustrated style. If anybody knows who did this cover, please let me know. And Kothar and the Demon Queen says, as a boy, Kothar had been cast upon the desolate shores of Grondel Bay. Since that time, he had grown to lusty manhood, to become the greatest swordsman in the world. He had well earned the name of magnificent barbarian. Nothing daunted him, not demons, not sorcerers, nothing creeping or crawling or flying. Even the cunning white worm had been slashed by his magic blade, the enchanted Frostfire. Yet now Kothar was challenged by the Demon Queen, a beautiful she-devil of limitless cunning and unspeakable passions. For the mighty swordsman, it was his greatest trial. So yeah, I've been wanting to read these for a long time, and I finally started. I'm about halfway through Kyrik, Warlock, Warrior. It's a very fast read. I am enjoying it. It's not great, but it's definitely not hack work. It is solid entertainment, and if the rest of the books by Gardner Fox are that entertaining, then I am in good hands. So, all right, guys, well, let me know if you have read Kyrik or Kothar and what you think of Gardner F. Fox. If you know who did those two covers, Kyrik and the Wizard's Sword and Kothar and the Demon Queen, let me know in the comments. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.